Well, hello people, and welcome back to part 19 of Thessia, our Australia-inspired build. We're having a wonderful day. And I think we're going to start every episode from now until the end of the series by this bridge, right? It's so good. Cannot get over it. Every time I load into the map, I'm just like, wowzers, trousers, metro, under the roads with trams and cycling above it. And there goes the trams. It's just amazing. Absolutely gorgeous. Indeed, thank you for all support on the last episode on our road network frame. You guys really enjoyed it. Not so much the bridge though, we have removed the bridge now. I think everyone would prefer this to be a tunnel, so when we come to develop the Canberra inspired areas, we will rework this into a tunnel. So thank you for all the suggestions and comments and ideas. And indeed, on a suggestion of how we can get our metros to stop here, we're definitely going to implement some of those fixes when we come to work on our transport hub and stadium build. We've also got a AFL Bad Peanut Stadium in the asset list ready to go here. Tremendously exciting. really cannot wait to start downtown Thessia, but the first stage of the downtown is to form, I guess, the first part of the Skyline, because Thessia's downtown's so big, the downtown's going to be pretty widespread. But in our Adelaide area, which we all agreed unanimously that this should be called Eggerlade, and it will, that we're going to start our Skyline here today. So, lots of inspiration to take from Google Earth, layers of height to develop and assets to consider. Let's build a realistic skyline in City Skyline, shall we? So of course for this area we are referencing Adelaide in Australia, which isn't really a medium density. There's some pretty tall towers in this city in Australia, and you'll be seeing from our on-screen Google Earth overlays. So what I like to do here is to essentially start with my tallest point, and I think for this particular example I'm actually going to start with the Marshall Town Centre building from the Skyscrapers content creator pack, which, speaking of, if you don't have, you can get it down at Instant Gaming, super cheap below, helps support the channel. So go ahead and check it out if you're missing it. But I think this is going to be the highest that Thessia's Skyline gets. We might have some other buildings that come close to this. But again, I'm looking at Google Earth, I'm seeing where my tallest point is, and then I'm going to start with that. So, I'm going to have this one in here, right? It's going to be pretty nice. It's not too overbearing. And it's also, of course, got its sister tower, so we can have a small variant elsewhere if we need it. So I think we'll also follow up with quite a few of the Japanese buildings today, because these are just really nice. I love these ones. So I think we'll go for a touch of city office building here. And what we got that space to play with behind there? It's about, what, pretty much 4 tiles, isn't it? So definitely also want to satisfy a fair bit of residential demand today as well. I think what we will do is filter for something that's going to be 4 deep from green cities, and something pretty tall around here as well. Maybe get a couple of these in, and then we'll see if we can piece them together. We have had some good asset suggestions in the comments recently as well for downtown Thessia, and we will have a few, but I do want to avoid getting too asset heavy. I just think that with all the DLCs and all the packs now, there's so many assets, you know, it's almost like you don't really need some off the workshop. Don't get me wrong, the workshop assets are absolutely fantastic, but I just think there's a lot of choice now. Just when you start piecing buildings together as well, you really start to get some interesting shapes going. Got some green cities towers, right? Very welcome within the Skyline. I'm going to be happy with that. So around the main square in Adelaide, there's some pretty old looking historical buildings, and I think some of our uniques will lend itself very well. I love that. I love that the shark is a unique building. That's hilarious. That's really good. Anyway, we've also got the world's tallest bin, which we will put it somewhere as well, but not here. So I'm thinking the Oppression Office is going to be a good shout for representing some older style buildings in this particular part of the city. So why don't we have one here? Okay, we'll see if we can piece this into a place that's going to be pretty appropriate. We'll line the back up with here without disconnecting it, and then a little bit of surface painter in there, and we can develop some more organic plaza spaces, which is probably my favourite thing to do in the downtown, you know, besides the Skyline of course, is little open plaza spots like this, bit of out-of-home advertising, lots of possibilities. Okay, so I think the Oppression Office is going to be welcome. You know, there is more older buildings here. A lot of the campus stuff would work really nicely. And we will get some campus uniques in here today. I think also what would work well would be the Grand Central Terminal building, which we have never used before. and until I saw an imperative video like 3 years ago, didn't even know this existed. You have to get the deluxe upgrade pack to get this and a few other uniques, and it's a really nice one. Okay, so I want it again based around the central square, and I believe this is the Sir Samuel Way building in Adelaide, and it kind of looks really similar. It does break our road hierarchy ever so slightly, which is okay. So we're going to set it to the same height as this node over here, and then we're going to break the roads underneath. And then what we will do is just redraw them up here, and then we'll just go up to the back of it, and then we can just connect in and around. And I'll probably have some buildings up here, but I think actually maybe it's probably best just to have more road wrapped around it. And let's go for 15 here, so we'll connect back in at this point, and then we'll connect back in like that, okay? Big shout out as well for this suggestion using the slope function with node controller to make it a proper angled slope. Again, didn't know that existed. Thank you for that tip, insanely helpful. And then we'll upgrade back into our regular crown trees as we come around here. Okay, and again, little spaces like this that now start to develop within that road frame that we set up last episode. Perfect for a little bit of plaza detailing. Bit of sunshade, expanded public transport stops, etc. But again, I'm happy to have a much older style building factored into this city centre area, right? Gonna be really cool. Not looking too bad already, is it? Again, one of the most important things that we check from all angles is the skyline. Now, I think from the bridge is going to be a key sightline, isn't it? As people arrive into Thessia, they can be like, it's a bloody tall tower, mate. So let's return to some other towers. Let's go for... I reckon the skyscraper bank, you know, would be a good shout here. Let's see where we can possibly squeeze this in. About up here too. Not too bad. Of course, with our hotels as well, you know, are pretty tall. So I reckon we can get away with conference hotel possibly. Now we did actually ask for name suggestions in the Orchid Bay for the hotel chain, which we're going to name the Excelsior, of course, but please do get suggestions down for Thessia's hotel chain. We can name it Excelsior if you want and make them a sort of multinational hotel chain, but otherwise please feel free to drop suggestions down for the name of Thessia's hotel chain, or we can keep it the same as Orchid Bay's. You guys can decide. But again, that conference hotel is going to be a very welcome addition into the Skyline, isn't it? So I think we'll enjoy that. I think I'd also like a Hungry Jack's in here too. Right in the corner. Gonna be pretty appropriate, I think, isn't it, having it right here? Not too bad. I'll leave it in there for right now anyway. It's going to be near the stadium eventually as well. Cool, so I'd like to turn my attention toward this main strip, because we're seeing some more taller towers kind of down the main road. Again, I think skyscrapers is going to lend itself pretty well here. And the one Galveston tower is pretty dinky. So is the one Montgomery as well. I think we will actually go for Montgomery. Have that there. So of course, remember everything within these pathed up squares or rectangles is going to be the Adelaide Greenbelt. So we don't want to put any buildings in here. This will be its own separate build as we put in sports fields and trees and more landscaped pathways, so we don't want to be zoning in there at all today. And again, we'll return to the wonderful world of Japan Content Creator Pack, because I reckon we can get away with some good department stores, larger shopping centres that sit up in the entrance. Have this one looking out onto the main square, which I believe is Victoria Square in Adelaide, I think. I think we can have this here. God, I love this, you know, we only get to do Skylines once per city, and it's a real treat when we get to do them. Because we haven't done one since Ilos, which was so long ago now. We built Ilos' Skyline. Because of course the city carried on for so much longer after we built that Skyline, didn't it? But again, I'm enjoying this now, right? The layers of height are now starting to make themselves known. We're crawling up, which the terrain is also helping us with that. I'm really happy that I didn't flatten this out, and we ended up respecting this gradual crawl in height. It's making the build a little bit more interesting, I think. Cool, so I definitely want to fall into a medium density in these blocks around here as we fall away from the tower. And I also think, you know when you just have something in mind and you know what you want to have in certain squares? I definitely want the Modern Art Museum. Possibly, I mean, if it's gonna sit and fit, then we can't refuse, can we? That is the rules. So we have that there at the foot of one of the Adelaide Greenbelt squares. I think I'm happy with that. We also need to name this area as well, don't we? I think everyone agreed on Adelaide last episode. I guess we could spell it like that. I guess that's sort of a pun, isn't it? Egg-laid? Or egg was laid? I guess I don't know. We could spell it like that. And actually not spelled the Adelaide way, but as in an egg has been laid. Yeah, I guess we can go with that. I think that's funny. Apologies if it isn't. So we've got screaming high density residential demand, so let's fall into the wonderful world of high density res. And pick out some of our taller towers that we can use here. So again, constantly referring back toward my inspiration in Google Earth as to where these towers might fit in pretty nicely. And a lot of our density is kind of sat to the back left and back right of Victoria Square here. So I think that's where we'll start factoring them in. Of course, these are greenbelt designs, we want to respect these. So let's leave them in where we can. And then let's maybe go for some back-to-back tower action here. I think I'm happy with those. Some of these buildings in there as well, though some of them will need to be bobbed because they're plastered in horrendous vanilla trees, of course. One of these glass towers is definitely always welcome as well, isn't it? Now, honestly, I don't think I'd mind some of these more surviving Mars-looking assets either, but we'll do a bit of fusing with them here. So we'll set them both to the same height, and I think confuse them on the corner. And then we'll, again, surface paint up where need be. More little plaza spaces to develop. Probably around the back here as well, I imagine. Let's go ahead and just spread that up a little bit. Okay, and then we're coming towards the edge of my frames here now, so I want to start falling away into a little bit more medium to low density at this side. But I do want to keep still fulfilling that residential demand, so let's add in perhaps another green cities tower, something a little bit more modern. We could fall down and make a bit of a pattern out of them. And I think what we will do at that point is switch to wall res, and then we'll just use our Alt-V trick here to bring in some different shapes and sizes and fall away into that lower medium density rather than having towers over this particular way. But we can still continue, of course, to satisfy our residential demand as well. We're having towers here and we're contributing to a crawling height there as well. Again, making sure that nothing's getting too horrendous here. I'm still pretty happy with how this is growing. It's not too bad. And that water wall's giving us a little bit of colour in there as well, isn't it? Because of the murals on them. Don't hate that at all. And we'll hopefully start seeing a lot more people move in and out of downtown now we've had those residential buildings placed. Of course, we'll wait and see as always. Interested to see actually, because there's so many people using the trains, just how busy these bus lines are getting. Because we're using pretty high capacity buses. So it should be able to cope. Yeah, there's a few people coming to get the buses here, isn't there? You know, don't worry, we will probably develop this station eventually, but for right now it's at least serving its purpose. People walking in and out of the city, I'm happy with this. So let's return back toward the centre square, and I'd like to have a little look at some plazas and promenades buildings, because these are really nice ones, especially the office landmark zone in here. Do like that one. Trying to give us a little inner city plaza here as well, next to one of the Japanese assets, which is pretty tasty, although we'll have to be careful here with some of the sloping though, because it's a little gnarly in some places, but nothing too horrific, I don't think. And again, with the back of it, we can just see what room we've got to play. We've got 3 deep here. I reckon some commercial now would actually go quite well at this point. Let's scroll into our 3 deep ones here with the filter on Find It. And then we can just pick out some choice assets. Of course, let's not forget Hearts of Korea gear as well, because some of these buildings are pretty significant in height and size that I wouldn't mind having around the main square actually. Maybe having one of these movie box ones up against our main tower there. Don't hate that at all. And of course, modern city centre is always a firm favourite, isn't it? I think they're going to blend quite nicely in with our office landmark there. Let's also use some of the vanilla multi-stories, because again it's weird going back to a downtown that isn't absolutely plastered in asphalt like Phoenix was when we were building Ilos. There's actually not that much car parking in Adelaide. But one of these car parks is going to fit and sit, I think. Of course, it's always going to be a park as well, so people are going to enjoy it. Then it's all the better for the Sims, isn't it? I think a bit of multi-story car parking in there is going to be welcome. But so far, so good. It's not looking too bad, is it? Nice crawling height coming up here as well. We can also see we've got some pretty chunky hospitals in Adelaide, and of course one of the Plaza's assets at the high capacity hospital. Oh, it fits and sits. Absolutely wonderful. That wasn't measured, I promise. That was like a legitimate just sit and fit moment. Yes, please. So we'll have this here, and again, this has got the big medical symbols on it, hasn't it? So I definitely want to expose that to the right side of the build. So if we have that here, set it to the same height as the road, and then bring it up into the corner. Again, that's not too bad. Okay, that's what I wanted, you know, that medical symbol exposed in the skyline to hammer home the point that we have a hospital here. But that's looking pretty tasty right now, isn't it? I think I'd like a more taller asset to accompany the ChirpNet building there, which we will do. But so far, it's tasty. I'm enjoying it. So in between our main high-rise and our greenbelt spaces that we're going to develop, there's basically just low-rise, looks like low-density commercial, essentially. Maybe the occasional apartment block in there. But there are kind of more key features and pops of height knocking around Adelaide that I'd like to try and respect. One of them being a taller building next to the one on the entrance as we look down our main entrance road, which I think the high-rise office building from the Japan stuff is going to serve wonderful purpose for that. And I reckon the Dosan Square Centre from the Korean stuff would serve as another kind of eye-drawing pop in height there. It's also going to sit very nicely outside one of our part belts here. Oh, it's so satisfying seeing Lay's develop, isn't it? I hope you all enjoy developing Skylines as much as I do, everyone. Easily the most fun of City's Skylines, isn't it? The actual skyline bit of the city. But for more angles here, I'm pretty happy with what's developing. Really like these back-to-back high-density towers over here. High-rise bank with the multi-story next to it is a vibe, isn't it? Love seeing that big medical symbol exposed to the square too. Shopping logos, older style buildings. Very fancy. We'll hopefully have a fair few people cycling here as well. What I would like to do if possible is to encourage cycling back into from downtown to Thessia. Of course they can't cycle on the highway roads, but if we were to just instate some highway connections here, or road connections rather, we will lose our truss arches, but it's all in the name of cycling, which I think we're all on board with. We'll set this one to be up as cycle network. Wouldn't mind having people cycle down to the camera bit as well. We'd probably end up upgrading that one. It would involve me downgrading this into 2-lane. I mean, we're essentially replacing a car lane with a cycle lane, aren't we? Which is a very progressive thing to do. So let's do that. It's not like this needs to be 4-lane, is it? It's not even getting any use at the minute because, of course, the AI will prefer the Asari carriageway as the faster way into town. But at some point down the line, there will be towns down this road, so it will get use eventually. But maybe now that they have the option to cycle, they will. I'll have to wait and see. Oh goodness gracious, look at that. That's so cool. We can get our first view here of the approach on this side of downtown. Can we see this from Valkyrie, actually? I don't think we'll be able to. Maybe, actually you can from certain points. If we, to get in by the old Crocodile Creek Cricket Club. No, we can't really see it from here, can we? What do we call this place again? The Valkyrie time at home, yeah. There you go. So let's see what the old folks can see from the Valkyrie time at home. But nothing, it's too bloody tree lined, I can't see anything. Hold on. Let's go to the church. We can see it from the church. There we go. Yeah, that's quite special, isn't it? You can just about see the bridge from here as well, yeah. Bridge arch over there. Very nice. Sightlines beginning to develop. This makes me a happy egg when we see that sort of stuff coming together. But otherwise, it's coming along pretty nicely. Let's turn our attention towards some of the university uniques, because of course we do absolutely love these. So my favourite is the School of Engineering. These are real chunguses, they won't fit within our frames, so it involves breaking our hierarchy again, which I don't really mind doing. But let's see which one we want to use first. Once again, returning to Adelaide, over towards the back end of Victoria Square, we've got lots of very packed in glass towers, so we're going to start playing with some more vibes out here. We're going to bring in the National Trade Centre as another pop of height to accompany the Marshall Town Centre here, or Marshall Town Tower I think it's called, is it? Is that rubbish? There is rubbish on my pier, never noticed that before. But it's not too horrendously tall. I think I'll be on board with it. But again, referring to Google Earth, a lot of glass, so I also think we're going to come back in to find it and filter through for some IT cluster, because this stuff is very glassy, I guess you could say. So let's go for a couple of these little numbers, and I bet we can knock these back half a tile each, you know, to create a bit of a fusing. They will still be close enough to the roads to not have to bother with building spawn points. But we'll have that one on the corner there. That's going to give us some more glass, isn't it? These ones are very fusible too. I wonder actually if we can maybe piece together 4 of these. Yeah, let's just piece together some fairly random IT cluster shapes. These ones work really nicely in blocks of 4. Since you make a wider building out of them, can't you? I think we'll have a few of those in. We do like these ones as well. Let's go ahead and pop a couple of these down. Again, we can probably get away with moving them over half a tile each. Let's get those 2 roofs together. And then we'll have them like that. That shouldn't look too bad, I don't think. Yeah, lots of glass windows, that's what we're after here. As opposed to stone windows, obviously. I do want some car parking in, and I think actually between these towers is going to be quite appropriate. So let's use some of our well-maintained parking roads here, and we'll just feed through a connection like that. Adjust these so they're not encroaching. And we'll have some inner city parking over this way. And then complement this with more glass buildings. I feel like we're neglecting quite a lot of high density commercial here. Of course, we did mention that we love a lot of the Korean stuff, which is actually meeting the criteria we want to fulfill here of having kind of significant glass buildings knocking around. I think we can get away with that. That high density green cities might start to become quite unhappy with us, but they'll have to deal with it. We're playing modded, so they don't have a choice. But yeah, quite heavily packed in. Of course, there's a lot of unique buildings that are plastered in glass as well that we shouldn't neglect. There is the office skyscraper, which we've used in every Skyline so far, but I think it's too girthy for an Adelaide-inspired Skyline. There's nothing that thick here. I also think it'd be rude not to include the Australia Poly building, wouldn't it, since we're in an Australia-inspired city. And that's just going to sit quite nicely on the corner, is it? I don't hate that. I think I'm on board with it. There is a taller version, but again, I think it'd be too much. Don't want to get kind of too Manhattan-y here, if you know what I mean. Don't want super talls everywhere. Going after more glass, and we've got more commercial demands, so let's see what we can get in. The transport tower could also be a nice shout, actually. And there's another it fits, it sits moment. I think I'm going to enjoy that. I think so. I think what we might end up doing actually is moving maybe some of these green city selections that we've got in this space. Just pop them over here for right now. And then if this is going to fit and sit, then we can rotate it this way. And have it just about maintain its connection as we come in like that. Again, I don't mind that, but maybe rotate it the other way. Bring it back as far as we can. We're going to bob those trees off as well. And then let's grab a little narrow inner city street that can provide its connection. Wonderful. Let's go ahead and get rid of those crap vanilla trees. Robert to the rescue. We'll go ahead and grab... Sure, gum trees will do a job, I think. We'll have the transport tower in. It's been a while actually since we've had the transport tower as part of a Skyline. But I'm enjoying that, I think. It's going to be quite nice. There's kind of one more little pop-in height here right on the corner of Adelaide, and I think a vanilla office building is actually going to be perfect for that. So let's grab it. I know which one I want. The 4x4 one. Yeah, some vanilla office is very glassy, isn't it? I feel like I've neglected vanilla office as well. We can maybe get some of these knocking around. We'll see what happens. Of course, there's a lot to place in our detail and time-lapse, isn't there? So we'll wait and see for that. But yeah, this one right here. I think I would love to have right on this corner, without upsetting it too much, hopefully. How many tiles? We're back to back 8 deep here, aren't we? So we could fuse a couple of these together because they're incredibly fusible assets, these office ones. They stitch together just so wonderfully. And then if we grab them and just shift them back a bit so they're not encroaching too much upon the pavement, any holes that appear we can tidy up with surface painter. And then again, looking back to our Google Earth inspo, there's just a lot of low to medium density between some little peaks and troughs on the edge of town to reaching the actual main inner city centre. So I think I'm going to be happy with that. There's a lot of tree detail to do around here as well for Victoria Square, which we'll do. Which I think, because this is such a feature in Adelaide itself, we should probably name this, shouldn't we? So again, please give name suggestions down for the central plaza in Adelaide. It is called Victoria Square in real life, so if you'd like to come up with something that's a pun or a joke or something, feel free. Right, highest voted, we'll get it. So I think before we head into what essentially will be a plopping time-lapse, I'd like to have a look at another road connection over here. Because Teddy's interchange is only going to get busier and busier the more we plop in here. And it's currently the primary way into the city if you're approaching from Thessia, which is fine. But again, just to future-proof that network, let's go ahead and grab this highway ramp here and we'll bring it out there. And then let's grab another one from the Asari carriageway. We'll bring this that way as well. Let's go into multi-tool and we'll grab curve mode and we'll say hello and people. We'll have that there. Let's go ahead and grab those highway roads and force them into elevations where we want. We'll be there, I imagine, and there as well. And then we'll grab our nodes. And there's a car. Perfect. Let's make sure that he can clear this little slip bridge here that'll come in. That should be plenty enough for them. Move that pillar along so it's not in the middle of the road. I guess we can bring that one down a little bit as well. And then we'll network multi-slope from here down to the road. That should sort everyone out. A little bit of soften around those embanked masses, so it's not quite as intense. There we go. And then of course, let's make sure that everyone is facing the right way. And hopefully this will just take a little bit of pressure off of Teddy's interchange. Having them come in like this, let's go ahead and square these guys off. Don't want pedestrian crossings here either. I'd like you all to just for a second here enjoy the commuter trains arriving in Valkyrie. Taking people into Adelaide now. Oh cool, right? so many people, so busy. Having a proper functioning train system. Honestly guys, like playing with trains only start and having to prioritize trains as a way to move around the map is an incredibly refreshing way to play cities. Cannot advise it enough. I didn't think I'd enjoy it as much as I actually have. Oh, look at that. I'm just so good. So busy. How many people are on this train? 130. 28 on that one. Let's have a look at the line. And tons of people waiting at the stops. This one as well, I guess so. Yeah, I've got those trains. So busy. 300 on that one. Amazing. So good. Absolutely fantastic. Love Thessia's train network. Cargo trains in the mix there as well. We're also experiencing quite a lot of people now walking across the Adelaide green belts as well. Can't wait to develop these. We're definitely going to spend an episode doing this as well, you know. Coming through here, lots of trees, lots of fun to have, I think. Be nice. But either way, it feels like a relatively fun place to pop into a plopping time-lapse. We've got some low density to really fill out these spaces from the green belt up to the medium and high density stuff. And we'll also include a couple of apartment blocks, office spaces in there as well, pops of height of course, referencing our designs in and around Google Earth, alongside a little bit of prop detailing within our park spaces, benches, trees, etc. Places for people to come and enjoy. And I think what we do need to do here actually is to remove the oil from this particular bit of Thessia because it's a little bit too washed out and dry. Like a little bit more green, especially in the actual green spaces themselves, of course. Right, makes it pop a little bit more, I think, doesn't it? Oh, that was so good. People moving around the pedestrian roads now too. Let's have a look how the buses are doing. Sorry, we are supposed to be plopping, but I'm endlessly distracted by public transport. Oh, look at that. Yes, please. So good. This is going to look so nice when it's detailed. I really can't wait. But it's not too bad now, is it? The main shape is certainly there. Oh, ferry is also turning up too. Oh, I've got to watch this now, haven't I? Oh god. We'll definitely develop these spaces with the transport hub. Because I want to put the stadium here too. And let me know as well some unique building suggestions for, I guess, to reference Sydney Opera House. We'll definitely get a unique building out here on this park, so let me know what you think would work near the bridge. But either way, we'll hopefully see people come out. Here they go. Let's watch where they go. They definitely need a pathway here, don't they? That's really not ideal for them to walk all the way around that. I guess we should probably also send the bus into there as well, shouldn't we? Let's go ahead and do that. Sorry, it's just there's so excitable during our Skyline episode. There's so much to see and do. Yeah, let's bring that in there. And I guess it can... Yeah, it can stop again here. It might as well. There's a path connection right there. It's definitely going to get use. So we'll send the bus straight into the ferry terminal. Getting a couple of ferries coming in now as well too, aren't we? Yeah. Really fun seeing them sail all the way through this bay now to see some proper sort of ship activity over this way, isn't it? Very exciting. But they're going to come around. Let's see where they go. I realise I missed the other ones we were watching. Definitely an elevated pedestrian pathway here would be a tremendous help for them, wouldn't it? We'll do that in our time-lapse as well. And properly design it during our Park Belts episode. But either way, yeah, plopping, prop detailing within the green spaces. And I might also add another slip ramp into this direction here as well, so it's omnidirectional in every direction. But otherwise, let's do some plopping and detailing for downtown Thessia. And then we'll be right back. Okay everyone, so for the first time I would like you to all feast your eyes upon the skyline of Adelaide. I am immensely proud of this, by far and away my favourite skyline I think we've ever done. I'm just so excited to build downtown Thessia, absolutely in love with it. And of course it's only just starting, you know, there's still so much more space to fill with different projects, and I really can't wait to get stuck into this green belt that's going to wrap around the entire central business district of Adelaide. But let's get into it, shall we? So even already these pathways are insanely busy, buses getting a ton of use, bit of elevated zoo path over here as well, but we'll develop this as we come into it. Got some of our choice Aussie assets, Coles, Hungry Jacks, Wilco's, etc. Or Woolworths, sorry. Hamilton's department store from King Leno's. There's unique buildings, Art Deco, green cities, Brooklyn and Queens. There's just everything in here, and it's just become this great space to sit and gawp at. I'm just so happy with it. Really came out super nicely. There's schools in here as well, just to function as larger buildings. And it's just tremendous. I absolutely love it. It's just great. I'm so happy. Anyway, we'll start out in Victoria Square, where there's just lots of people moving around. Pretty simple detail, and there's a lot of open green space in Adelaide. And I really wanted to respect that. We'll see a couple of different places that sort of hold this vibe. There's commercial fusing on the sides here as well, with a little bit of Cities 2 advertising. We've got some car parking knocking around buildings as well, with tree patterns in them. You'd have seen a lot of this during our detailing time-lapse, of course. And there's just so many pristine views. This one right here is one of my favourites. That low density crawl up to the central business district is just fantastic. really like this one. Super cool. We did a bit more university views, and you guys would have seen as well that we did have some corrupt footage, unfortunately. OBS is not behaving itself recently. But we did another bit of university work over here with the School of Science, and this just sits here with a little retaining wall quay, some car parking at the front. We have expanded our slip lanes here, so it's now an omnidirectional highway interchange. And it's just taking a little bit of pressure off of the Asari carriageway. You know, some people are exiting here. The road network frame has been a little bit more developed, so it slips off this side and just flows again, taking inspiration from Adelaide as to how we kind of leave the main grid square, you know. So lots of inspiration on Google Earth as always. There's low density here. This is actually zoned up because I thought we could do with some of the car parking in and around the buildings, because we see this in Adelaide. So I ended up doing a bit of zoning just to help fill some of these areas. Lots of unique buildings. There's some really great sight lines down these main arterial roads as you come in and just, you know, enjoy the ambience of the Adelaide streets, looking up to those towers up there. I mean, look at that. That's so nice. Oh, I love it, everyone. I'm so happy. I hope you all enjoyed it as much as I do. Apologies if you hate this build, but I certainly do not. A little bit of Brooklyn and Queens in here for some apartments. More towers, lots of Hearts of Korea stuff, works really nicely. Over this way, we'll check out some more of the green spaces, which have just turned out so nicely. Like, Adelaide's such a great city for inspiration. Having these little park belts everywhere. We've got some of the smaller new parks in here. Like little ponds and playgrounds and benches and stuff that people are interacting with. More apartment buildings, and we'll come down here to some financial office stuff, which again just turned out so super nice. We'll definitely have a live stream of doing some downtown street detailing in Thessia soon, because there's just so much fun to have and ideas to be taken from Google Earth. We'll come right to the top of the street. Now look at this sightline too, right down the middle of the road. Can't wait to have this all wrapped up with that greenbelt design, which we'll probably do next episode, I imagine, just to complete this area. Is to develop all this green belt that wraps around Adelaide that we've seen in Google Earth today. Look at that, straight the way down. We've got the International Trade Building in here as well as another little pop of height. These older style buildings like the Oppression Office and the Grand Central Terminal just occupy this big open central green space so nicely. Just commercial, uniques, little bits of just buildings everywhere. It's so good. There's another really nice sightline down here too, as we look down towards that university building. It was really nice. Again, another little green belt design over this way. Nothing overly designed, just pathways, and people are flowing around this little intersection really nicely now. Traffic's an absolute dream in this Adelaide grid, with access into the dual carriageway here. And of course Teddy's interchange as well is getting a good bit of use now. Tons of people coming into the transport hub as well, using both the mirrored lines that are now flow all the way around the Thessia Isles. You'll see people get on and off here, just absolutely fabulous, right? How many people are actually entering the city via public transport rather than coming in? Buses now starting to get insanely busy with that, oh my god, wow. This please everyone. Oh, that's so good. That's so good. Can't wait to develop this transport hub either, right? Do a proper transport hub design here with all these people walking around. It's just, really has turned into my favourite downtown project we've ever made. It's absolutely gorgeous. This is the footage that we lost off camera again. It's just another university building that I ended up recoing into high density to hold 200. So this is really nice. I'm a super big fan of doing this. We did it in Ilos. Recoing these university uniques into essentially ploppable housing. And again, you can see, you sit here from the highway and it's just got this different layers on it, texture to it. Just, they're so nice. I love including the university uniques within the downtown spaces themselves. And then there's more uniques down here. The Eddie Cavongo building from Art Deco is in the media broadcast building from concerts. Then we come down into some more fusing. We've also got a metro terminal building here as well. That was really nice as it kind of bleeds onto the pavement and provides a cover as you walk down the street. So I really like this one. And that we definitely will develop a metro system, an underground metro system I think, for Adelaide too. Then of course all this space here that wraps around will be developed as we come to do that classic Adelaide greenbelt design, which, like I mentioned, will probably be next episode. Otherwise, guys, that is going to do it for today. I'd like to thank you all so much for watching. If you have enjoyed it, likes, comments, and shares below really do help me out equally as much. If you haven't enjoyed it, please feel free to leave a dislike as well. I'm pretty sure you can tell that I am enormously happy with how downtown Adelaide has turned out. And it's only the first major build in this huge downtown project as well, so we're going to be here for a good while, taking lots more inspiration from Australia. And I'm really enjoying it, more so than any other downtown we've ever done, probably since Palawan. And yeah, it's just a ton of fun to build. Now we're kind of better with the mods and there's so many assets to play with without the workshop now. We're definitely going to get Bad Peanuts AFL Stadium in with the transport hub build. I think it's just too good to refuse. so much to do. Can't wait to record more. Please do enjoy your cinematics of the Skyline for the first time in Thessia, but I'll shut up and leave it there. I'd like to thank you all so much for watching, and as always, enjoy the rest of your day.